CNN's promotion of lifelong Republican voting Democrat in Georgia mocked, "Who is he?" When you hear someone publicly state that they are a lifelong Republican followed by an explanation why the person is voting Democrat, there is a very good chance that the person was definitely not a Republican. Such was the case on Tuesday when CNN ran an interview by its correspondent, Ryan Young, with the self-declared lifelong Republican in Georgia who presented a litany of liberal reasons as to why he was voting for a Democrat senatorial candidate supposedly for the first time. Here is the interview in which the lifelong Republican sounds remarkably like an extreme liberal Democrat as he hopes for enacting President Biden's policies. Of course, not a bit of skepticism on the part of CNN, which labeled him on its website as a lifelong Republican. Georgia voter, "I have been a lifelong Republican. This is the first time I've ever voted for a Democratic candidate just because there are issues regarding our environment, regarding taxation, regarding diversity issues and so forth that I think need to be addressed." Yeah, a lifelong Republican who according to him voted for Trump and Republicans all his life, wants higher taxes and is concerned about diversity. CNN green flagged that interview to appear on its website, but observers on Twitter couldn't help but mock what seems to be an obvious case of a liberal pretending to be a lifelong Republican. Leading the skepticism was Mally Hemingway, senior editor of The Federalist, so he didn't vote for Biden or Warnock or Ossoff in November, but now he is voting Democrat because as a lifelong Republican his top three issues are increased taxes, environmental regulation and government-mandated diversity. That seems a tiny bit difficult to believe. Memo to the legacy media: if you're gonna try to falsely pass someone off as a lifelong Republican, make sure their top three priorities aren't the environment, taxation, and diversity issues. I've been a lifelong Republican, but I have incredibly progressive values. CNN identified the voter simply as Joe Swanee, like he was just another voter in Smyrna, Georgia. A little Googling shows a Joe Swanee of Smyrna, Georgia on Facebook who was former director, public relations at Cartoon Network Adult Swim. In other words, a former PR man for another Turner network, okay, now an AT&T network. There's nothing really political on the Facebook page, but he's not just another man on the street to interview. It feels more like AstroTurf than grassroots. Flashback, when the media cast doubt on an election outcome on Sunday, November 8, barely 24 hours after media outlets declared Joe Biden the winner of the 2020 presidential election, CNN weekend anchor Ana Cabrera was already impatient. The Trump campaign says starting tomorrow, they will start prosecuting their case in court. All of it a dangerous attempt to undermine the most sacred part of our democracy, the vote, she huffed on the 5 p.m. ET edition of CNN Newsroom. But only 4 years ago this week, CNN and others in the liberal media took anonymous reports that Russia had interfered in the 2016 election to cast doubt on the legitimacy of Donald Trump's victory that year. Did Russian hacking help Donald Trump win? ABC's Dan Harris wondered at the top of the December 10, 2016 edition of Good Morning America. Later that day on MSNBC, Politico's Asa Pabra insisted, "You have this very real skepticism about how illegitimate was this election. That was soon after journalist Charles Pierce on the same network pushed Trump's electors to defector and deny him an electoral college victory. Over on CNN, the network's intelligence expert, Bob Baer, lobbied for a do-over. "If the evidence is there, I don't see any other way than to vote again." The next morning, ABC's This Week began with the opening cheer and screaming, "Democracy hacked?" On CBS's Face the Nation, Slate's Jamel Bouie doubted Trump's victory. "What it suggests potentially is that the election was in some sense illegitimate. And I don't know where you go from there." And CNN's Manu Raju put the question to the most impartial observer they could find, outgoing Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid. "So do you, in any way, think that Trump is an illegitimate president because of the Russian involvement?" So, as you listen to today's media fume about court challenges to Biden's 2020 election victory, here's a brief flashback to what they were saying 4 years ago this week, all clips from December 10 to 12, 2016. 4 years ago, ABC was excited Hillary wasn't going away. If the liberal media didn't have double standards, they would have no standards at all. Although journalists now are angry that anyone would question President-elect Joe Biden, ABC 4 years ago was speculating on Donald Trump being delegitimized. The network was also excited that Hillary Clinton wasn't going away. Think they'll feel the same way about Trump? On the December 9, 2016 Good Morning America, reporter John Carroll hailed Clinton's return to the spotlight, calling her the most prominent voice in the Democratic Party. Former Bill Clinton hack George Stephanopoulos cheered, "She's not going away." Carroll gushed, "Absolutely not. You know, after that contentious 2000 campaign which Al Gore won the popular vote and basically disappeared after the election. That is not going to be the case, I believe, with Hillary Clinton. She won a big popular vote victory. Her people will tell you she got more votes for president than any white male in America. I don't think she is going away. She remains the most prominent voice in the Democratic Party." On the December 13, 2016 Good Morning America, analyst Matt Dowd wondered if the Russia accusations, to be debunked in the future, would delegitimize then President-elect Trump. "Well, looks like what Donald Trump has united opposition on this whole issue, not only related to what Martha said to the cabinet pick. There's going to be vehement opposition, but on this issue it goes to, does it delegitimize Donald Trump's presidency at the beginning of it? He already lost the popular vote we know to Hillary Clinton, and there's been questions related to the election, and now you have this situation which Donald Trump and his staff know is problematic for the integrity as he enters this office, so it's going to be a big problem." Monday night when the electors meet around the country, there's some question of, how many will abandon him in the course of this? ABC gushes over Clinton's rebuke of fake news, "She's not going away." Every time Hillary Clinton has made a public appearance since losing the election, the media goes nuts. Even the New York Times opined about her chance appearances as a political salve for their sore loser wounds. Two of the three networks Friday morning used their morning shows to excitedly report on Clinton's latest public appearance, where she condemned the media's latest bogeyman, fake news. ABC excitedly reported on Clinton's return to the spotlight, with John Carroll calling her the most prominent voice in the Democratic Party. NBC's Peter Alexander also covered Clinton's rebuke in a less effusive report, while CBS This Morning passed. ABC's report began with anchor George Stephanopoulos and chief White House correspondent John Carroll touting Clinton's statement and her popularity. "She's not going away," Stephanopoulos gushed. Carroll agreed, making the argument that people wanted to see more of Clinton, highlighting her team's talking points and achievements, seemingly forgetting that she still lost the election. Carroll praised Clinton as the most prominent voice in the Democratic Party. Stephanopoulos, "Interesting choice there. She's not going away." Carroll, "Absolutely not. You know, After that contentious 2000 campaign which Al Gore won the popular vote and basically disappeared after the election. That is not going to be the case, I believe, with Hillary Clinton. She won a big popular vote victory. Her people will tell you she got more votes for president than any white male in America. I don't think she is going away. She remains the most prominent voice in the Democratic Party. NBC's Today also covered Clinton's comments in a less obnoxious way. Correspondent Peter Alexander's straightforward report noted Clinton poking fun at herself without bringing up Clinton talking points like ABC's report did. Peter Alexander, as for Trump's former rival, Hillary Clinton, she returns to Washington Thursday to pay tribute to retiring Democratic Senator Harry Reid and poking fun at herself. Clinton: this is not exactly speech of the capital I hope to be giving after the election. But after a few weeks of taking selfies in the woods I thought it would be a good idea to come out. Alexander. Clinton also offering a warning about what she called the epidemic of fake news spread on social media just days after that scare at a DC pizza restaurant prompted by a conspiracy theory.